This is Start, Grow, Manage, where we help managed service providers achieve the impact, freedom, and wealth you imagined back when you started your company. At Start, Grow, Manage, our tools, practices, and processes help you engage, energize, and execute on building a business that empowers an extraordinary life. Learn more about our programs and how they can fuel your fire at startgrowmanage.com/learn more. Let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Start, Grow, Manage podcast. My name is Joe.
And I'm Jeff. And I'm on my way back to New York from a week of skiing in the Sierra Nevadas. And on one hand, I'm a little depressed about going back to New York.
He says a week of skiing, but he was mostly working and then he skied a little bit. That's what he did.
I did. My dad was very impressed. I sent him my statistics. You know, I've got all of the things that measure my skiing. And on Wednesday, I skied 45,000 vertical feet.
Wow.
And did 42 miles of skiing, apparently.
Wow.
And had a top speed of 52 miles an hour.
Holy moly.
I think that's a pretty good day of skiing.
That's freaking impressive, man. That's impressive.
But all that, so I could talk all day about skiing. But I think the point of our conversation today is really to get into marketing. And the thing that I've been thinking about with marketing is, what is it that people struggle with? Like, what is the fundamental thing that everybody seems to be challenged with? Because we just struggle so much to get people to think differently about the way that they communicate.
Yeah.
And so I've come back to some of these fundamental ideas that we have about marketing.
And it's funny because the thing that they keep saying is they just won't listen to me. They won't listen to me. No matter what I do, they can't listen to me. And this, so how do you get them to listen? I think that's the question, right?
And so that's why I want to introduce this idea of your world versus their world, right? And understand that where you are in your world, like you exist in a world and they exist in a world, and there's no connection between those worlds.
Yeah.
Never. Everything that you do in your world is what's happening in your world. Everything in their world is what's happening in their world, and your job is to translate what's happening in your world to their world.
You have to pretend that you're literally on separate planets. Literally.
Yeah, but you are on separate planets.
Yeah.
You fundamentally you are on separate planets, right? So the thing to get right is that you exist in your world, and your world is everything that you know and understand, and all of your knowledge, and it's the way that you work, and it's all of the stuff that you know about everything that you do. And then there's their world, which is the same thing in their world, like all the stuff that they know and all the stuff they do and all the stuff that they understand how to do, right? So if your world is MSP and it's technology, and their world is accounting, right? Everything that they know or do and think about is accounting. And your job, right? And so you speak different languages. You actually truly speak different languages. The words that you use, the jargon that you use, the way that you talk about things, even just the idea of a network, completely different thing from in your world and their world. They don't know about networks. They're not thinking about networks, right? So one of the things that you said is one of the challenges. You talk to MSPs and they say, well, a network is a network is a network, right? And I'm going to go maintain a network. And so, well, that's great in your world. In your world, you may understand that a network is a network is a network. That may be clear to you that a network is a network is a network. But in their world, they don't care, right? They're worried about accounting. So you can go to them and say, hey, your network is the same as somebody else's network. And they're going to say, well, can you make Thomson Reuters work? Can you make my accounting easier? Can you make it easier for me to bill somebody, right? They're not concerned about the network. And one of my favorite examples of this is if you, as an MSP owner, you go and you hire somebody to help you build your business. Do you want somebody who says, I'm going to use the generic tools that I've used because a business is a business is a business? I'm going to apply those generic tools. Or are you more likely to hire somebody who says, I know MSPs and I have specific tools and tactics and things for MSPs?
I'm going to hire the person that says I'm practicing tools for MSPs, you know? You have an MSP business plan, you have MSAs, you have SLAs, you have all these tools. I'm going to hire that person because the other person doesn't even know what I'm talking about, because this is exactly what you're talking about. SLAs, MSAs, MRR, that's all MSP language. I've talked to accountants that are, just accountants, and we start talking about MRR and how we bill, and then sometimes they don't know what I'm talking right? Because MSPs have a particular language that they use. And I think that the thing that you're saying is so important is that when you're talking to your potential client, you can't use your language. You have to use their language.
Right. You have to use their language. You have to speak to them about the things that are happening in their world using their language. You can't talk about the things that are happening in your world using your language. But so you talk to them.
What I was going to say is that's going to bring me to this beautiful phrase that you coined, which is agnostic is where MSPs go to die. And if there's no their world, if there's no an over, like who they are over there, then how do you know what language to speak? Like, how can you speak in their language if you don't know who they are?
And we see that all the time. We say to people, hey, okay, you talk about the problem that they have in their world. And they say, how do I know the problem that they have in their world if I haven't asked them what their problems are? Well, if you have to ask them what their problems are, then you clearly are not marketing to a specific avatar. You're marketing to anybody. And that creates a business that's not scalable, but it also makes it very difficult for you to sell, because when you can say to somebody, look, this is the problem that I solve, and they have that problem, now you're talking in their world. But if you have to ask them lots of questions and get to know them and delve deep into it, then you haven't defined what their avatar is, what your avatar is, what their
world is,
and what their world is, and you're not talking to them about their problems. And that means really understanding it's not just about the way you talk. It's the definition of your product. It's your offer. It's the transformation that you're offering. You have to communicate what that transformation is. And it's how you communicate it. The stories you tell, the things that you talk about have to be in their language, right? Fundamentally, what's happening is that you're working with people who are unhappy, right? They have to be unhappy in some way, shape, or form. If they're not unhappy, there's no reason for them to buy anything. So you're talking to people who are fundamentally unhappy in some way, and you make them happy. And you have to talk to them in their language about how you make them happy. That's it. That's the fundamentals of marketing. Like everything else is sort of a tool or a way to get you there, or a guide or a checklist or something. But fundamentally, they're unhappy. You make them happy, and you have to communicate in their language how you make them happy.
Perfect. Excellent. This is very good, man. This is really good, because what it'll do is if you can, and with all of you out there, especially who you are, that I've been talking to, that I'm saying you have to narrow down, and you have to pick an avatar, and an avatar is not a vertical. An avatar is the person that you're talking to that has the problem that you solve. that you just have to do it. Okay. So stop resisting, right? Stop resisting.
Well, and the reason to do it, you have to understand what's going on in their world. You have to talk to them. You have to go over to their world and talk about the problems that they have. You cannot talk about your world because nobody cares about what's happening in your
All
world.
right.
Nobody cares.
No, and they never will either.
Well, we see that so often with everybody going around introducing themselves. Funny, we were at a networking event yesterday, both Joe and I, and every single person, I am such and such, I do this. And then they spend the next minute and a half trying to clarify that thing that they do in a way that people can understand, but none of them define their avatars, And I went into one, I was so specific about who my avatar, who I was, and everybody was asking me, how did you do that? How did you, I really get it. How did you do that? A lot of people, I gave them our irresistible value statement scripts because they were so interested in how we were able to communicate so clearly what we do, And I think that's the thing that we have to get people to do. I don't know why everybody keeps resisting it, actually. That's the challenge. Like, how do we get people to get this and see this? That's the problem that we have.
Yeah. Well, it's for us, it's going to be repetition. Because and the other thing I think that is going to be super useful, right, is continuing to get people together, because we see it in our peer groups, right? In our peer groups, when somebody picks an avatar, and then all of a sudden they start having all this success, because they narrow down. Then the other people are like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, "Well, I listened to Joe, or I listened to Jeff, and I picked an avatar, and now I can't there's a flood of clients, right? There's only 200 people in my avatar in my town, and I have 50% of them." Right? Because that's what happens. The narrower you get, the faster the clients are going to come to you.
Yep.
All right. So I think that's it. This has been a good chat, man.
So we'll see you next time. And then Joe, you want to take us out?
Remember that you are loved.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.